How are we going, everyone? And exciting times. The World Test Championship final has finally been decided. It's India and Australia. That was always going to happen, but Sri Lanka were just hanging on by the skin of their teeth down in New Zealand. But Kane Williamson did the job again, getting that run off the final ball. How exciting was that? But we're going to be talking about the World Test Championship final in about 3 months' time. ICC, they've got to sort things out. We're going to talk about Virat Kohli and the wickets over this India Test series. We'll have a bit of a discussion about that on live Hogg's blog. Roll bumper, please, Shubs. Well, it's centuries galore in the final Test match here, or against India in Ahmedabad. Khawaja, well, he continually has a hit list of people that he wants to have a crack at every time he performs well. And he hasn't played in India before. Everyone was telling him he can't play spin, and he got 100. So he reminded those players or those people that kept him out of the game for a long period of time that, yes, I can play against spin. Cameron Green, Mumbai Indians fans will be very happy with that he's got a bit of form leading into the IPL. But we see how good he actually is in Indian conditions when he plays on his home soil for the IPL at Wankhede Stadium in the next one-day international. And he's bowling with a little bit of heat as well. So Mumbai Indians need that in their depth. Gill, very lucky to take out Rahul. I feel very sorry for KL Rahul because he's just been put in different positions for the Indian team throughout the past 4 or 5 years. He's done different roles. At the start of this World Test Championship, he kept India afloat with a couple of hundreds when they toured against England and South Africa. So very disappointing that he's been dropped. But will they play Gill instead of Rahul in the World Test Championship final? Rahul's done pretty well over there in England. And Virat Kohli finally getting 100. How long has it been? I'll just get my date up. 20th of the 2nd, 2020, since he last made 100. And if I just go through the stats here, I've got them up here. Before, or 41 innings ago, up until then, he was scoring 100 every 5 innings that he went out to bat. He was scoring a 50 every 6 innings. And since then, the last 41 innings, he has been dry as a desert, actually. I was going to use another term, but the Catholics out there won't like that. And yeah, it's just great to see him get 100. He had to work hard for it. It was a long, long time for that drought to finally find some water, and hopefully we see the best of Virat Kohli again. I just think it's too much pressure for Virat Kohli over the last 2 or 3 years. The captaincy, COVID, as well as more cricket being played in the white ball format and just chopping and changing. So we haven't seen the best of him. And as I said before, don't compare him with Sachin Tendulkar, because Sachin Tendulkar was able to play more Test cricket and didn't have to play IPL cricket through most of his career as well. So that's why Virat Kohli has dropped off again. But talking about the batsmen over the last couple of years, Joe Root and Usman Khawaja are definitely the best batsmen that we've seen over the last year and a half. They should be number one. I can't believe Usman Khawaja's not out the top. But Joe Root, through that same period where Virat Kohli has not made 100, has made 12 hundreds and is averaging 54. And Pakistan fans out there, I know Indian fans won't like it, but Babar Azam's been batting a little bit better than Virat Kohli as well. For me, it's just great to see Virat Kohli back in form, and all the doubters out there, you can stop talking about dropping him from the Indian team, because I think he's going to make a big one in the World Test Championship final, and I hope you bring up questions about that moving forward. Next talking point, please, Shubs. Can we get it up there? What have we got? The wicket 2 dead. Well, we've throughout this Test series, we've been having bouts of 3. It's either 3 days of cricket that we're going to see in the Test match, or we're going to only see 3 innings being played. India didn't bat a second time in this final Test match. So for me, what do you think? I want to see you get your comments downstairs. Do you rather see a result over 3 days, or a draw being played out like this 4th Test match in Ahmedabad? For me, it was an average pitch in the first 2 Test matches, a poor pitch in the 3rd Test match there in Nagpur. For me, I'm going to be very interested what rating they put this pitch at Ahmedabad, because for me, it is very poor, because you have not been able to get a result. even though there was a little bit in there for the bowlers, it was just a dead pitch and there wasn't much entertainment out there for the spectators. So for me, we've got to get that right. Do you agree with me? This pitch was too dead. We need pitches to create results. And that leads me to talk about point system as well while we're on this topic. I think we shouldn't be getting any points for draws. I said this last blog as well. I think we should be getting points for aggressive cricket, and if you cause the team to follow on previously, you get bonus points for that. So for me, I'm just sick and tired of seeing draws get rewarded, because at test level, we want to see the game have a result. I hope you agree with me. All right, the last talking point that we got, the World Test Championship final. The ICC, what are they doing? We've just had a World Test Championship final. We've had South Africa just finish off the West Indies over there in South Africa. England play New Zealand. There were some ripping test matches there. We've got Sri Lanka taking on New Zealand down there. We've just had a last ball, one run where Kane Williamson nearly got run out, with Sri Lanka still fighting to try and get in the World Test Championship final, and India trying to hang on against Australia to make sure that they keep their points above water so that they play in that final over there in the Oval. But the World Test Championship final, the main games have finished and we've got to wait 3 months. That's not good for the fans out there. We've got to turn this around. ICC, wake up, please, because we've got the momentum of the longer form game going right to the wire, and then all of a sudden that momentum, that excitement has just dissipated because we've got to wait 3 months for that final. So we see the IPL, there's going to be a lot of interest in that IPL over the next 2.5 months. And then when that final comes, we've only got a couple of weeks till the World Test Championship final. Everyone out there has had enough cricket. They probably won't be interested in the World Test Championship final. And also, I don't think it should be played at a neutral venue. For me, once the competition's finished, we find a venue right there and then to play it on the home soil of the team that finished out the top of the ladder. Do you agree with me on that? That's what I'd like to have more comments about on Live Hogg's vlog today. Anyway, let's get to the questions, please, Shubs. Moving on, who have we got first up? Oh, here we go. Ankit Kumar 18. Hi, Hoggy. I want to ask that in the first innings of Australia, Shami has picked a couple of wickets, but is this pitch helpful for pacers? And if yes, then why Rowett hasn't used Shami much in the second innings? I think if you look at the second innings, it was starting to turn. There was a little bit of rough there, and the wicket looked a little bit better as well. Also, he wanted to protect Shami. Just remember that you've got Boomerang, who's out of the IPL and won't be playing in the World Test Championship final. So you've got to make sure you protect your fast bowlers. And when you're going to the World Test Championship final, you've got Shami there, who's going to be your main man, and he's also going to have to use Umesh Yadav as well. It's great to see Umesh Yadav playing in this last Test match, because those two particular bowlers out the Oval are going to be dynamite for India to beat Australia in that World Test Championship final. I would actually think about playing Unadkat over there at the Oval as well, just with that left arm option, but it's very hard to keep Siraj out. So for me, he was protecting Shami, and he didn't think that the wicket in that second innings was going to really create much opportunity for Shami to get inroads into that Australian batting lineup. But very good question. I think if they had another day's play, if that was the fourth day's play in the second innings, he probably would have utilised Shami a little bit more, but he just felt that the game was going to fizzle out to a draw. So Shami, pull your boots and get your workload up for the World Test Championship, and just make sure you don't get injured. Good question, Ankit. Next question, please, Shubs. Okay, the direct hit. How are you going again, mate? Ask Hoggy, has the World Test Championship fulfilled its purpose of bringing crowds back to the stadiums for Test games? I think it's still created a little bit of interest, but as I said before, why do you have a World Test Championship series and then have the final 3 months later after you finished the main competition? That's just ludicrous. The momentum's gone. And all of a sudden, that opportunity of getting bigger crowds because everyone's excited about that one format has gone. We don't see a World Cup where you play all the games and then you have your semi-finals and you say, all right, we're going to play the final in a couple of months' time. You don't do that. You keep the ball rolling. So for me, the ICC have got to turn things around and make sure that they get the fixtures right, because this is poor. It is absolutely poor, and hopefully it does not affect the crowds in that World Test Championship final, because we'd like a lot of Indian tourists going over there to be able to join the Australian tourists and really make that a key event. 5-day Test match out the Oval 3 months later, I don't like it. For me, it should have been played in Australia right now, so that we get the series done and dusted. We shouldn't be waiting for 3 months. The guys go and play IPL cricket, most of these players, then they come back and they've only got a week and a half, 2 weeks to get ready for Test cricket. High chance of injury as well, okay? Health and safety of the players is our huge risk, as well as the fans' enthusiasm for the contest. All right, next question, please, Shubs. So many points I could bring up in that scenario as well. Okay, Sarachandra Yalamati, how are you going? Rohit 120 or Khawaja 180 or Kohli 186? Which is your favourite? Rohit 120 because that was in a winning cause. The 280s out the back end in this final Test match. For me, yes, they were well played under a lot of pressure, but at the end of the day, we want to push the game forward. We want to create that momentum. We want to see batsmen taking a few risks so that we're playing for a win rather than a draw and just letting the game meander on. And I was going through the stats or going through the overs. What is it? 90 overs in 5 days, that's 450 overs. If every team has 110 overs per innings, remember, I've taken 10 overs off there of the game because you declare. But if every team tries to make as many runs as they can in 110 overs in each innings, well, all of a sudden we've got a aggressive contest. We don't want the games to be just 110 overs per innings, but what I'm saying is we should be getting bonus points for teams declaring 110 overs or less to try and keep the momentum of the game forward and to make sure that we do get a result. There's so many ways that we can create a better point system to encourage aggressive cricket. So for me, Rohit Sharma, 120 in a winning cause was the one that was better for me. Good question there. I didn't mind Shubman Gill's 100 as well. Next question, please, Shubs. Going to get a drink of water. Bit dry. Damon, how are you going? Is it time to introduce neutral curators for Test cricket, Hoggy? That is a very good question. I don't think it's about neutral curators. I think if we're going to have a point system or we're going to rank pitches, poor, average, and so forth, we're going to have what's the word for it? Bigger penalties for curators creating poor pitches that aren't suitable for Test cricket. For me, I think, yes, you've got to have home ground advantage. You've got to have the conditions in your favour because that's what it's all about. It's about the team that's touring to be able to try and beat their team on their home soil. You want to make it a fortress. There's no doubt about that. But you don't want games finishing within 3 days throughout the majority of the Test series. So there's 3 games in this 4 Test set match series that only went 3 days. Same thing happens here in Australia when we've got weaker teams as well. We don't want that. The idea is to test your endurance, test your patience, and test your skill. For me, curators have to produce pitches that go at least a full 4 days. I'm not too worried about going into the 5th day, but 4 days of aggressive cricket is good enough for me at Test level. Anything less than 4 days is not good enough. So for me, curators should be penalised more. And what's the point of this average poor system that the ICC conduct their analysis on pitches? If it is, and we still have Test matches on those same grounds with no penalty, what are the ICC doing, and what's the purpose of judging pitches? So good question there, Damon, but I don't think you want to go to neutral curators. You want to go to curators that understand the conditions. And Artel Baral, he's just popped in there. Just before I talk about your question, Artel, going back to pitches, I think pitches all around the world should have their own intricacies. I remember playing first-class cricket when I first started here in Australia. Don't like talking about my career, but it's got nothing to do with that. It's about when we went to each venue around Australia, we had the spinning conditions over in New South Wales. We had seaming conditions in Hobart and Brisbane, probably a little bit more flatter in Hobart. And MCG was up and down, and the Saka was conducive to spin a little bit more than pace, but it kept low. So there were different intricacies in the pitches around Australia. That's what every ground should have, their own little intricacy where players look forward to go and change their game to that little difference or that little point of difference that ground has. Artel Baral, Trav Head, close the door for Warner's comeback in the Test team. That's a very good point. Is Warner going to play in the World Test Championship final? If he does, I'd say that would be his last game. And really for his service that he has given to Australia, on the most part, it would be good to see someone who's had longevity in a career for his country be able to come off and finish in the World Test Championship final that Australia are playing in. I think he deserves that. If it was only a short career that he's had, I would have someone else. I'd have Bancroft come in and open the batting over in England and Travis Head come back down the order. But this is where a horses for courses sort of team gets picked. Travis Head in India is vital to open the batting, so he can change his roles, a bit like KL Rahul, changing his role. So in India, open the batting. Even in Pakistan and Sri Lanka, open the batting where the ball's coming on early. He can take a part, and then he's shown that he can play spin. So he's very good with the new ball. But when it's seaming conditions, he's better off down in the lower order in England, South Africa, as well as Australia, and he's proven a point there. So he's an adaptable player, horses for courses. But in England, I'd have Bancroft open the batting and Travis Head down the order and Warner out. But I'm going to let Warner play in the World Test Championship final. Good question there, Artel. Next question, please, Shubs. Okay, Mayank Upadhyay. I hope I got that right. Upadhyay. That could be right. Ask Hoggy, do you think the Australian mindset could have been a bit aggressive and declared before tea session, provided that they had already lost the test and claimed the World Test Championship final? Yes, you could be right there, but that's in the first innings. If you're talking about the first innings, yes, I think they could have been a little bit more aggressive in the first innings, declared a lot earlier. And look, you can even say that about India in their first innings as well, but they were batting to get a lead and hoping to bowl Australia out. So it was Australia who created India batting for a longer period of time in their first innings, try and get a lead to bowl Australia out on the final day. So really, Australia's lack of aggression in that first innings, you are right, created the draw out the back end. So for me, they could have been more aggressive. And again, World Test Championship points. You should be rewarded for aggressive cricket. Hopefully Australia weren't playing the dead bat and trying to force India out of the game with the hope that Sri Lanka would beat New Zealand down in New Zealand to over-topple India to get into that World Test Championship final. So a bit of byplay there by Australia trying to play for the draw. Good question there, Mayank. But if the points were on the line, Australia would have declared between lunch and tea. They only would have batted an hour after that lunch period. So a good observation. I like it. I love it, mate. Next question, please, Shubs. Oh, Trinity, how you going? Ask Hoggy. How good is WPL for the development of women's cricket? It is fantastic. It is brilliant. Loving the Mumbai Indians, their dominance. And the reason why the Mumbai Indians are doing so well is they've got quality spinners. They've got Kerr there that's doing a fantastic job. I've got my notes here. Who else? Shiva's doing a good role in IPL. Hayley Matthews is doing a fantastic job with the ball as well. And Ishak, left arm off spinner. I think you call it Ishaki, Saika Ishaki with the left arm off spin. She has been very economical and picking up wickets. So WPL is great for women's game. We really needed that to happen. Hopefully it brings more money into the women's game as well. So how can I put it? I don't want to mean this in a bad way, but so that they can start standing on their own feet where they're bringing more money into the game as well. So I think it's so good on a number of occasions. And for me, the World Cup of the T20, that was just scintillating cricket from the girls, especially in the finals. India, Australia, England, South Africa were absolutely superb. This is going to develop Indian cricket. It's going to give opportunity for a lot of girls that have not been able to get into the system in Indian cricket. It's going to make them stronger. And it's also going to improve the quality of cricket around the globe as well. And hopefully we can see more franchise cricket for the women as well, because I just think it's good for the game, good for them, and it's getting them on the world cricket map even more, because a lot of people are watching it on the TV, which I am absolutely loving. Next question. Trinity, that was a great question too. It's great to bring the girls in here. Ayosh Shikar. Hi, Hoggy. Your any memories between India-Australia rivalry? Well, I don't really want to go into that, but going back, we've had some really tough competition out in the middle. But I'll take you back to 1996 when I first played for Australia. I'd only been bowling leg spin for 2 years. They took me over there to be how can I put it, the understudy of Shane Warne. They weren't expecting me to play the first test, but then Shane Warne got injured. They brought McIntyre over and they needed to play 2 spinners. They played me. So I'd only been bowling it for 2 years, so I was a bit underdeveloped. And I'm bowling to Ganguly. And Ganguly's facing me and I decide to come around the wicket. Mark Taylor comes up to me, the captain of Australia, and says, Hoggy, what are you coming around the wicket for? I said, oh, just for something different, Mark. And he goes, what's your plan? I said, just try and put it on a good line and length and keep the pressure on. He said, yeah, but how are you going to get Sachin Sourav Ganguly out? I said, Mark, I'm no Shane Warne. I've only been bowling for 2 years. I've got no idea what I'm doing. And he goes, all right, you're putting it on a good area. Okay, let's set the field for it. So we set the field. I won't go through that because that's a story to be told out of sporty. But 2 balls later, or the first ball that I bowled around the wicket, Ganguly hit me for 6 over mid-on. Watched it sail over mid-on. I went to Mark Taylor. Plan's not working here, Mark. And he goes, that's all right. Stick to your guns, but just bowl a little bit wider outside leg stump. Ganguly went for the sweep shot. Mark Waugh caught it out first slip, and that's where I got my first wicket. And it took me another 7.5 years to get another test scalp after that, because India belted me to smithereens. And I got a lesson of a lifetime back in 1996, and I had a lot of work to do if I wanted to play international cricket as a leg spinner again. Good question, that one, and hope you enjoyed that story. All right, that's all, folks, for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And can you put some ideas down of what you want from Hogg's vlog moving forward, okay? Because it'd be great, because I want to help you enjoy your cricket and give you a few insights of what's happening out in the middle. Guys, enjoy the cricket. The one day is just around the corner, but then we go to the IPL, and that's going to be an absolute ripper. IPL 2023. See you soon.